we all become sexually stimulated in different ways. There are different languages, sexual languages. You have to understand how your partner, the language that they speak sex in. Men, we need to know this, is that the vast majority, 70 to 80% of women need.
Can you be physically attracted to somebody, but then not have sexual attraction?
Okay.
I say this because I remember in a past relationship, I was physically attracted to her, but sexually, it just didn't work.
Right.
And that's why that relationship ended. She was this beautiful, beautiful girl. Her mind, her intellect, she was super smart. She was super funny. She was just everything. I think there was a point before we went to have sex that I thought, this is it. This is the one. We then went to have sex, and I've never said this before. I remember getting up and going over to my phone and afterwards, and saying to one of my best mates, I just go, I don't think I can ever see her again.
See, I wonder how much of this though plays into to foreplay. Really, because have you heard about Erotic Blueprint?
I've heard about it. I think I heard it on that Goop show.
Okay, yeah, it was on Goop too.
Oh, really? Yeah, I watched that. Yeah.
So and I buy into that theory, which the overall premise is that we all become sexually stimulated in different ways.
Yeah.
Right, and the thought is that men are just ready all the time. It's like we're ready. We're just ready. Come on in the room. We're just ready. But that's not the case. Some of us, it's about, contextual. Some of us, and this is men and women, right? Some of it, it's romantic. Some is you need something that people would call bizarre, going on.
Kink,
yeah, some BDSM, going on. So that's why I wonder how much of that was about sexual stimulation in that situation versus you not being sexually attracted to the person. So I wish we could almost go back, and I could be your sexual surrogate.
Unfortunately,
in the room.
she's got a baby now. And she's got a husband. So
and you're with someone. So
yeah. So, but it made me pivot. But I think you're actually spot on, because what I came to learn a couple of years later was that I had this one-dimensional view of what sex was. And then, as I've said on this podcast once before, when I started viewing sex as potentially a different set of languages,
yes,
and I thought, fuck, I'm speaking English. Maybe she's speaking Spanish.
Yes, there you go.
And I need to learn a new language in order to have an effective sexual conversation. Everything changed.
Absolutely.
And it changed for one of my best friends too, because he was having a similar issue with his sex life. And I said, what if you just saw it as your girlfriend speaks a different sex language? You're speaking one and you're like, I'm unsatisfied because she's speaking Spanish and she's going, I'm unsatisfied. She wants touch. She wants the 30-minute non-penetrative build-up.
Yes.
You want to tie her up. You want to gag her and whip it and all that kind of kinky BDSM stuff.
Right.
You need to talk.
You need to talk.
And learn the language.
Another language. And then also too, because you drop penetration in there.
Yeah.
This is something that most men, men, we need to know this, is that the vast majority, 70 to 80% of women need clitoral stimulation, not just penetrative. Mm-hmm. This is where the feedback, once again. We have no feedback loop. Porn. That is our teacher.
Yeah.
That's our teacher. And what we have to understand is no, I love what you're saying. There are different languages, sexual languages. You have to understand how your partner, the language that they speak sex in, and you have to deliver it. And that's also why communication is the bedrock of all relationships. It really is.
Yeah. That's so true. I'm thinking about how I could have fixed that situation. But because you're right, I totally dismissed it and I didn't do any work. That was the very much characteristic of my younger self, which was if something, and this is relationship, sex, whatever it was, if something isn't perfect now, go. Just run. Don't do any work to have the conversation, to fix it, to have empathy for someone else might have a different opinion or a different bias or a different attachment style. If it's not perfect, I would dash.
Yeah.
I'll go in search of perfect, which doesn't exist.
Yeah. But this is, I mean, this is all of us. This is immaturity. And,
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of learning, as you grow older.
On that point of seeking perfection, and I asked it a second ago, but we went off on the sex thing. That sounds weird. Please don't clip that. Do we know what we're looking for? Are people good at saying, this is what I want?
Hells no. We are terrible. We're all biased when it comes to love. I've done a lot of research around biases, and when it comes to love, it's like we're wearing the foggiest glasses known to human beings. We're terrible when it comes to making any type of rational decision around our love life. Normally we are looking for ourselves. Like we literally are looking for ourselves. It's funny to me when you see when you ask someone, well, what is your type? Which I hate that phrase, but you say, well, what is your type? And typically people will describe someone who's very much like themselves in so many of these categories. And so we are horrendously bad at not only identifying what works well with us, but then making the selection. And on top of that, most women don't make the selection. It's typically the man who makes the selection. And this is where I say that what I'm seeing now is more women are consciously choosing who and what they want in their relationship, opposed to being the ones who are always selected.
Why does that happen? Why are women not choosing? Is it because I mean, it's because of the craziness of the world and how we've evolved. If you think about, it was the pill that was one of the first liberation points for women when it came to dating. I mean, and you think about it, that's not that long ago. We're talking about the 60s, we're talking about the 70s, really when the pill became in vogue, if you will, at least in the United States. And what that allowed was for women to finally have a little bit of choice when it came to dating. Before that, it was virtually men making the selection, making the choice. You're mine, or you're pregnant, so you're definitely mine. And that was it. And then you saw a little bit of liberation come from the pill, which was incredible. But then also what's great now is the dating apps. I know the dating apps get a lot of stick for whatever reasons. And yes, we should always hold dating apps accountable. But what's beautiful is that you do have dating apps where you have given women a lot more choice and control in the dating experience, which is important. And even when you look at the studies and you look at the dating app ecosystems that are led by women, they're safer, they're less crude, the list goes on and on. Interesting. So are you saying that contrast tends to be better for compatibility than finding someone who's a replication of yourself?
All right, that's a good one. So a bit of contrast, right? A bit of it. It's almost like going back to the weak tie theory. You want someone, I think. Well, let me say this: the best matches I've seen are based on that blueprint that I outlined, from attachment style all the way down to physical attraction. But then context also plays a large role. If I were to place you on a desolate island with someone, I guarantee that person's going to be the love of your life after a while.
You're going to have babies.
You're going to have lots of babies. They're going to be, your soul. You're going to think they're your soulmate, right? So context plays a large role, which is why it's interesting to see how politics plays a role in dating. Just 20 years ago, politics was insignificant in dating. It was not a topic that was brought up. Definitely not brought up on a first date. If your partner has an opposing political view, it's completely fine. Today, it's one of the top metrics behind whether or not you want to match someone is politics. There have been some really interesting studies that showed that, I mean, even how sexually obsessed men are, right? We still would turn down, well, it depends on who you're talking to, but there's a significant percentage of men, but a vast majority of women who would not have sex with someone that they find physically attractive, but yet have opposing political beliefs. I mean, but that's the context. That's the day and age that we live in. So context, I think, plays a role as well.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.